It should be streamers, right?
I
Confetti.
brought this. I brought this, and I was going to use it, but it said to stand 10 feet away from everything. So I thought
Yeah.
I would blow up my computer. I was so excited to. So imagine confetti! Yay!
100, number 100, the show.
100, everybody!
And they said we could never do it.
And you know what? And
Those
they were
mother.
wrong.
Huh?
We're so hot and so popular with our show. And Tom, who loves to wear very casual clothing, has pulled out the gold shirt, and I have to know where that came
Okay.
from.
This has nothing to do with the dead gay man on the front lawn.
It has nothing to do with anything. Is this your shirt? Like you've for Halloween, maybe, perhaps?
No, yeah, I was honored about 4 months ago to the local comics decided we got to get out and do something,
Yes.
some activity, because nobody was doing open mics, nobody was going to comedy
Right.
shows, and there's a good bunch. I mean, if you wrangle all the comics in the area that call themselves comics, open micers, you got 40, 50 plus people.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right? So one guy said, Hugh said, we're going to have a kickball tournament. Hugh Carey. Okay. We're having a kickball tournament. Everybody show up at this park, like Seminole Park, and we're going to divide up teams.
Okay.
And well, anyway, the teams got divided up before we assembled because you had to have a team name and a team color. I was named the captain of our team. Old Whitey was named captain.
Yes.
And our team color was gold.
Aha.
I said, fellas, I got the shirts. I'll pick. So I bought like 10 shirts.
So they all have gold shirts. Well, that came in very handy for our 100th.
This size was triple XL. And I feel like I'm a sausage.
Wow. And this was a man's shirt, not a lady's shirt?
It's a man's shirt.
That is not a triple XL.
No, I can barely fit into it.
Wow. Very impressive. Very impressive. So this is our 100th episode. We started last summer. We do our show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's you and I, it's guests. And so today, well, first of all, I'm Melinda McKinsey.
And I'm Tom Wise.
And you're here to unpack some shit with us. So
all 20 of you.
I'm curious, do you have special topics to commemorate the... No. Okay.
I have more topics than usual, but nothing special.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me what you got. What have you got?
I've got hot chicks, rich versus rich guy.
Yes.
I also have bees, parachutes, nudes, hair.
They're all one-word topics. Okay.
Oh, also J-Lo.
Also J-Lo. Okay. All right. I have Cuomo because there was so much stuff. There's more. Can you believe I talked about possibly dating this guy? Thank goodness I didn't. I would be in the news right now.
You'd be in the news. You'd be making news.
It.
Our podcast would be in the stratosphere. Thanks for nothing.
You're welcome. How old is too old? Scary urban legends. When neighbors suck. And something that most people learn too late in life.
Settle it, everybody. It's a 4-hour show.
And yeah, it's our 100th episode, so we're not going to stop. We're going to go for 100 minutes. So, okay, you had several topics. Is there a favorite one you'd like to start off with?
Hey, I posted that. Did you see that the posting I had on Facebook has over 3,000 views?
Which posting? The bees?
The bees is going nuts.
Yeah, it was that.
That was amazing.
That lady was so calm. Her
so
bare hands.
For those not initiated, I was flipping through TikTok and I saw this bee lady, and she's in some sort of like utility shed on somebody's grounds, and she's lifting up a floorboard, and underneath is just combs of and bees by the thousands, right?
Yeah.
And so she's no mask, no smoke, no hands, nothing. It's like she just got off the bus.
It's crazy how calm she was. She clearly knows what she's doing because with her bare hands, she picked it up. She moved. The bees were all around. How does that work?
And all those females have stingers. Those are all female bees, and they all
How
got
does that
stingers.
work?
And then she picked out the queen, and she
Yes.
took a little hair clip, secured the queen, wrapped her up in a rubber bands, and then put her because she was collecting all the combs and then putting them into a regular, like a beekeeper's,
Yeah.
hive, sticking the combs inside these frames, rubber banding in the frames, and then putting those frames inside the bee house,
Well,
to be or not to be.
when she took the queen, how did they not start attacking her? Because I thought their whole job was to protect the
She
queen.
was cool. She just uses the queen as bait, and then she puts the queen into the new hive, and they all go.
It was fascinating.
And then, the hands part was incredible. She's like, okay, we got most of them out, but I'm going to get a bunch of them. And she started scooping them up and putting them into the hive.
So as human beings, what can we learn from these bees? Because I felt like it was a pretty calm and easy transition for these bees.
You've got to, they just knew they were on the right vibe with her. That's like horse whispering, right?
Yeah.
Bee whispering.
Yeah.
Another interest, though. So she's got like 10 videos on YouTube of different, places where she rolls in and don't call the exterminator to call me. I'll come get the bees.
Yeah.
Sure, this is her business. And there was an interesting little video about male bees.
Yes.
So male bees, they're drones. Their only purpose in life is to impregnate the queen, and her only business is to generate, more bees, right?
Right.
Well, once the mating season is over, they're done. They're done with the drones. The females kick the drones out of the hive.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman said it's not unusual to see a pile of dead drones at the base of the hive because they've been kicked out. They're
They just die? They just go and die?
They die. It's the weather. They'll freeze. They'll drop off because they don't have access to the food anymore that is collective in the hive. The honey, I guess, is what they're eating.
Huh.
So those guys are, and so when the females are done, there's not a drone in sight. It's just a bunch of chicks and the queen, and they're doing their business.
What can we learn from these bees?
I figured that would excite everybody who's watching the show. I tag that as, fellas, make yourself useful.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a positive. Make yourself useful. Something came on the news this morning, and I thought one of the differences between men and women is, I feel like because of biology, women, we look at things from a nurturing standpoint, right? How do you protect it? How do you love it? How do you care for it? Overall, not all of us. And I feel like, again, because of biology, men appear to view the world from predator eyes, like who's the strongest? How do I take control of this? How do I, and I've never thought of it that way before, because clearly there's only so much we can do about our biology. You can learn about it and go, okay, maybe I don't want to look at everything from predator eyes,
right.
And maybe I, as a female, don't want to look at everything from nurturing eyes, because that's not going to help me.
Evolution, right?
I mean, I do feel like we've come a long way, but I gotta stop watching those 2020, because I get on the treadmill and I'm like, those bastards.
It is such a thing for women that has been identified. And just like the old hey, I can guess your password on your computer. It's the name of a pet, and it's almost universal.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that very few men have names of their pets as their passwords.
What do men use? Their address, the name of their car?
I have a phrase that I was introduced to as a kid that I use.
What do you think what do you think is typical for men?
Maybe it's a sports figure or a car, something like that. Kid's name. I use all my kids at some point, because now they make you change your password
all the time. Much. Yeah.
I've came up with a beautiful one that I've been using, but now I'm forcing to change it.
It's very frustrating, those darn passwords.
But isn't it odd, though, to have those types of real truisms about women's passwords and women watching those shows? I'm sure the same shit goes for men, but it just seems to be that's been called out recently. It's like, wow, everybody's related to that.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. When I get on the treadmill, I try to find a comedy, and then I'm like, you know what? I've got time to watch a little bit of murder before I do that. And so I get very caught up.
Is it satisfying that there's an answer at the end of these shows?
Yes, that's what it is. Because you see the full circle, and I appreciate personally justice. And I think for women, I'm not going to speak for all of us, but I from my friends and speaking to them, it's the satisfaction of knowing when bad things happen, it can be taken care of on the other side, right? Like the show I watched yesterday was about this wonderful woman named Cece who works with DNA. So Cece's been doing this for a while, and the reason I say her name is because I think it's funny. She's such a professional, but Cece is a funny party name.
Yeah.
She uses DNA, and she goes online and finds all the public DNA and goes through newspaper records and connects people. So she works from it backwards and says, this is the DNA sequence. Who matches it? And that's how she found a predator that had killed a girl 24 years earlier. They didn't have the stuff they have now. And the only reason she followed up is because the mom was persistent for the last 24 years, calling the police station every day, doing stuff. So eventually, the guy that went to prison for this murder and rape said he didn't do it, but eventually he confessed.
What?
And that's a different psychology too, of showing how when you get a young kid in a police station and the cops are like, come on, you know what, you won't get the death penalty if you say that. And they interviewed this guy for hours and hours and hours, and eventually he's like, maybe I don't know, maybe I was there, because they wouldn't let him out of the room. Anyway, he goes to prison for like 16 years, didn't do it. The mom every day is working on the case, and she decides, you know what, I'm going to watch the police interviews after something like 16 years. She's like, I'm going to watch. They still have the tapes of the police interview, right? She watched it and she said, oh no, this kid didn't do it. We have to start all over. And because of the mom, this guy not only got out of prison, but then they went on to find the real killer. So his record was expunged, and now, they're giving him money and all this stuff. But it was because of the mom. The mom wouldn't give up. And I got great satisfaction out of that murder show. I was like, you know what? This guy would have gotten by with it. How they caught him? They did the backward sequence of the DNA. Then they broke down to what his family members were, who adopted who. She found out Cece did all this, found out all this stuff, and then said, you know what? 24 years ago, this guy with this DNA was living in Idaho Falls, Idaho, where he's the only one, and the DNA matches. So then the cops had to go after him. They followed him and asked him to come to the station. This is 24 years after the murder. So he says, okay, and goes with them. And it doesn't take too long. They ask him questions. No, no, no. And then they look at him and say, we have your DNA and matches. And he broke down and he confessed.
It's like a Perry Mason TV show. The murderer confesses like that.
If you've gotten by with it for 24 years, who knows what psychology that is in your head, though, right, Tom? That you killed somebody, someone else went to prison, and then the cops are finally, because do you have nightmares? What happens during all those years? He was a family man. He had a family. He had a job. He did all, great satisfaction. It was just something.
How about is it the same type of satisfaction? Did you ever see those videos where there's something's pushing something out that looks like putty, and then something cuts it, and then something else comes out, and there's another one squeezes like toothpaste?
I've seen those. I don't really have the same.
And it's interesting to see some things that give you that, oh, why am I satisfied? Why do I care that cut is perfect every time, or whatever?
You tell me, why does everybody watch Dr. Pimple Popper? That's
I can't watch that stuff.
No, thank you. But it's huge. She's very popular. No, thank you. Why do people like that? What's satisfying about seeing someone else's cuts? No. Maybe I'm not cool. Maybe only the cool kids watch that.
No, I think we're good on that.
I don't even know. All right. I want to talk to you about, the Grammys were last night. Did you watch the Grammys?
I did not.
I watched them just to see how many people I didn't know, just to see, am I current? Do I know stuff?
I'm so far behind. It's ridiculous.
Well, the only thing that has saved me is some of the people in my life are current, and they'll say, listen to this song. And I do try with Alexa to ask what the top hits are so I can stay familiar with things, So guess who broke a record at the Grammys for having the most Grammys, men and women all put together. Yes.
All-time most Grammys?
Yeah, most Grammys. Broke the record last night.
Dolly Parton.
That's a very good guess. Beyonce.
Really?
Beyonce and her daughter Blue also won a Grammy.
Oh, did they win as a partner?
I don't know the details. I'm assuming Blue was doing a song with her mom. I'm assuming.
Because I know that my girls were very excited about their Korean boy band was up for a Grammy, and everybody else in the category was like wasn't really a group. It was like a famous person and someone else. And so two people, famous people getting together, not a true what you consider to be a group.
They did perform last night. They were very interesting. They didn't win. Do you want to guess what was album of the year?
Would have no idea.
Folklore by Taylor Swift.
Oh,
she's very good. And this was something she wrote during the pandemic. She was very, very good. Do you want to guess record of the year?
I have no idea.
Okay, Billie Eilish. Do you know who Billie Eilish is? Billie Eilish?
Yeah, White Wedding.
No. Okay, we'll go on. Guess who was the best?
I do know Billie Eilish.
Best new artist.
Smokey Robinson.
The song is Everything I Wanted.
Was that song you made me watch about driving?
No, that's Olivia. I forget her last name. Megan Thee Stallion. I'll send you all this music so you can stay up.
Thank you.
So you can stay up on it. So that's what happened last night. It was fun to watch. Have you heard any more of the updates about Cuomo? Because every day is worse and worse. His first and only wife, someone that wrote and did a story about her. She hasn't come out and said anything because she's smart, but someone that wrote and knew the history of the marriage came out and said that she admitted when she was married to him, she was trying to get him to go to counseling. He wouldn't go to counseling. She wanted a divorce. They have 3 daughters together. He didn't want the divorce because it wouldn't look good. So for 4 years, she fought him and tried to get a divorce. At the end of their marriage, she would have to sleep in the locked bathroom because he was physically abusive. What? This is what happens when bad people think they can get by with stuff because no one tells on them. And then when the house of cards starts to fall, everything comes out of the woodwork, man.
How do you sleep in the bathroom?
Well, dude, okay, you're clearly not a lady. If you've got to protect yourself. Well, here's the thing. No man in his marriage is going to hide in the bathroom because it's uncomfortable. That shows the level of her fear. That was the one room she could lock.
That's crazy. I mean, did she have a bed in there?
No, she stayed in there so she wouldn't get hurt. That just tells you no one wants to sleep in the bathroom, but she stayed in there to stay safe. Think about the level.
She has to sleep at some point.
The focus is being lost.
I'm just saying, logistically, that's a wild claim. I don't mind. I don't doubt that she hid in the bathroom with the locked door. I'll give you that. Yeah, the guy's a madman. But to say that I had to sleep in the bathroom, what does that mean?
That means it's the only safe place with the lock on the door. That's why she stayed in the bathroom.
Okay. And then she doesn't sleep.
This is why men and women don't communicate well.
I'm saying when a story lacks credibility, then it's like then I start looking at the whole story. Well, what other parts are crazy? I believe Cuomo was a madman. I'll give you that. But when somebody says I had to sleep in the bathroom for a month, are you sleeping in the tub? Are you bringing blankets in?
Okay. Well, I could see where you think it lacks credibility because it doesn't make sense. She didn't say every night of her life she slept in the bathroom. There were times she had to just go in the bathroom and lock the door and stay in the bathroom because he was so abusive.
I think it's horrific.
People are coming out saying he threatened to break every bone in my body. It's like everybody's asking him to resign, but Biden finally came forward and said, let the committee work it out. Biden's not going to get involved, which I think is smart. Don't get involved.
Nobody should get involved. They're trying to drag everybody. Everybody's response is, that's any type of abuse towards women is horrific, but we've got a system in place. I mean, they're quizzing everybody to try to get, Hillary and Kamala. It's like,
Right.
It's the system,
But get
kids.
it.
My opinion means nothing.
But do you know Cuomo was married to Carrie Kennedy? She was the seventh child of Robert Kennedy. That's who he was married to.
That's crazy.
You
So Kennedy
dumbass.
didn't have somebody that had Cuomo killed and abusing their.
Well, I mean, this has been a long time, right? I mean, they were married for quite a while. Like I said, had three daughters, and families that have power are more likely to squash a story so no one hears it. And
It's
that's kind of what
horrific.
happened here, right?
Absolutely horrific.
Squash the story. So, have you got good neighbors where you're at, Tom? Do you like the neighbors or do they bother you? How are they?
Well, I'm fresh in here. I'm fresh in the neighborhood. I've been here not even 2 months. And the one guy next door seems to be great, and his wife seems to be
Okay.
great. I've not interacted with the other neighbor at all. You know me, I'm walking around the neighborhood to do my mile in the morning. I'm saying hi to this guy and hi to that
Yeah.
guy. So I think so far so good.
Have you ever had a neighbor that made you want to move or made you want to dig in and fight back?
I had one neighbor. I mean, and when back, let's say back at the ranch, I lived there for 10, 11 years, right?
Yeah.
And I was having troubles with the animals. They were breaking out, which isn't any good. I
Right.
concur.
Yeah.
Well, one guy, he was friends with the cops, so he enjoyed calling the cops and getting the cops involved. And I knew the guy. He invited me over to his house for dinner. It's like, really, you gonna have to call the cops because the donkey's out and not even in your yard, and the
Is that
donkey's
a
in the
police issue? I mean, come on.
police issue. I mean, he even knew that I didn't own the donkeys anymore, and the donkeys got out, and he called the cops and had me rousted out of bed on a Saturday morning. I said, they're not my donkeys anymore. I gave them to this other neighbor. So
That's really weak when you have to call the cops on something like that. I think we've lost sight of what the cops are for. That's crazy. Were the cops respectful to you?
the cops were, it was a mixed bag.
Okay.
One cop was a dick. Most of the cops were fine. They just
Yeah.
want to check the box.
Yeah.
I went out there one time. There was 3 squad cars out there. I go, really, fellas? 3 squad cars
For the donkeys?
for 2 donkeys being out.
Oh my gosh.
And the one guy said, and then I had 2 cops. And then what happens is this: I take 100% responsibility. You can't have the donkeys walking around. That was never my intention. But they would literally break the fence and get out.
Right.
It was frustrating for me. I mean, I was gonna have to. That was part of the reason I sold the place or got rid of the donkeys. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not willing to fence in the entire double lock the
Right.
entire place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, I had one time where the donkeys got out, and what they would do is go off for an hour, and then they would come back. They knew where they lived. They would just walk up the driveway, and then I'd put them in the back of the field, and they'd had their adventure. That was the typical donkey thing. So one time, the donkeys come walking up the driveway, and I open the gate, and they go back into the field, and and then 8 minutes later, 2 cops are knocking on my door. Hey, your donkeys are down the street. I go, I don't think so. No, they're down the street. I go, they're in the field right now. And then he asks his partner, are those the donkeys? Oh yeah, like somebody could tell one donkey.
Oh, those are the right donkeys, sir.
I go, really, boys? Really, fellas? You're gonna think they're other donkeys, and he's gonna be able to discriminate these donkeys from someone else's donkeys?
And so the neighbor never stopped calling the cops. There was no way to convince him like that wasn't the right path to take. What was up with that dude? What was that about?
Who knows? I don't know.
That's unfortunate.
I don't
Well,
know.
the reason I asked you about the neighbors is my sister sent me a story about this woman who
Most of my neighbors were great, by the way.
Most of Tom's neighbors are great. There's a woman in London who bought a building in a posh neighborhood. It was an empty business, but it was big, and she wanted to renovate it to a home, which she was allowed to do. So when she bought the property, she found out that the guy next door had tried to buy it, but she paid more and she paid cash. So I guess he was a little upset about it because he had just moved in 6 months previous and he wanted more space. Now, his place was like $11 million. So we're talking gobs of money, right? But she paid cash for hers and she paid more than what it was worth. So when she moved in, she filed for all the permits. And apparently in London, in these posh neighborhoods, before you can file your permits, the neighbors have to be notified, and they can say yes or no if they agree if construction could be done on your home.
Well, we have something similar here too, but the neighbors don't get a say. They can express an opinion, but they can't thumbs up or thumbs down a project.
That's what makes this different, because when I read the article, I thought, no, I get you let the neighbors know. You don't ask the neighbors permission.
Well, they have hearings here. We're having a hearing about this person modifying
Uh-huh.
their land use.
Yeah.
Can he have chickens in the back now? He's thinking about putting a mother-in-law on the property. So they'll have a discussion in front of a board, and then the neighbors can come up and they can say, oh no, if he puts that in there, you're going to ruin the eye line. I can't see the woods,
Yes,
blah, blah,
of
blah.
course.
And then, but they still vote, and he doesn't get to nix the project.
Right. Of course. Well, in this case, she bought it. It was a business. What she wanted to do is construction on the inside, and she wanted to have a pool and some other things that the other houses have in the area. So there was nothing unusual, and it was into the interior of her home. Her next door neighbor who wanted to buy the property was so angry. He said, no, no, I don't want construction because it's going to disturb me in my home. So she said, okay, now I have to push it even further because this is normal. So all of the neighbors decided, you know what? No, we're not having it. So it just made it more difficult for her. So in the meantime, while she's filing all these other permits, she decided, this is a very rich neighborhood and all the buildings are connected, all the homes are connected, like in New York. She decided while she was waiting for those permits, she would have the outside.
Hang on. She's going to start smoking meats and storing onions.
No, but that would have been a very good idea. This lady was very smart. She had other people do her biddings for her because she tried at the beginning.
Of course, I try to be nice. Right.
And she had the outside of her house painted, and you can look this up on the internet because it's hilarious. This happened in 2015. It started red and white stripes on the outside of her home. So the neighbors were just horrified. How could you? Oh my Lord. She said, well, I can fix it. I just want to do construction on the inside of my house. No, that would be too noisy. We won't have it. So she had to file more permits to say, look, I want to keep the stripes or I want to have construction done. What do you guys want?
Yeah, your choice.
So apparently there's levels of having these meetings and getting permits. Well, the next door neighbor was so mad at her, he filed some kind of extra something. So it was going to cost her more money, thinking he would stop her. Well, here's the problem with people with money. They're not going to stop. She paid cash. She paid cash.
He's got means.
He does have means. So she has means too, though. So they go to this meeting. She has to pay attorneys. He has to pay attorneys. They have the meeting. And at the meeting, they say, you know what? No, you have to take the stripes off the house. And she said, okay, but I want to do construction inside my home. Oh, that's another meeting. You'll have to have a different meeting for that. So everybody's celebrating, saying, ha, we stopped her. So what do you think she did? What was her resolution? Because she came up with a very good resolution to get her way, and it actually made it worse for everybody around her.
Wow, I like the way she thinks.
I like the way she thinks too. All she wanted to do in the beginning was do construction on the inside of the home to have the same stuff everybody else has, an indoor pool, different. That's all she wanted. And the neighbor said, no, it's going to be too noisy. I won't have it.
Yeah, well, that's not
so
a reason.
I loved it because they interviewed her. You need to look this up. Her name is Zipporah Elise Manwaring. She's very easy to find. She has a very interesting name. So guess what her resolution was to all of this?
What?
She filed a permit to tear the entire structure down and start from scratch. And guess what? It was approved because there's nothing to stop that. So instead of having minor construction on the inside of the building, it's now been several years. They're still building it, and there's still construction years later because of this one dumb motherfucker didn't want noise. Congratulations, and I applaud you, Zipporah Elise Manwaring. I would have loved to have thought that I could. She's older too. I would have loved to have thought that I had those balls and that I would have done the same thing too. So I enjoyed that story immensely. And don't fuck with your neighbors. The end. That was such a good story.
I love how when you can beat a guy at their own game.
You dumb motherfucker. It could have been over years ago, and now it's still playing out because you were stubborn. And here's one of the quotes he said, and this really pushed my buttons because he said, "Oh, she wants to do construction because I have a pool in my house. Oh, you think just because the queen has a tiara, everybody else can wear a tiara too?" Uh-oh. Game on.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
lost, she
it's weak.
won, and I love her. So tell me one of your stories. You had something about nudes.
Oh, well, that was you. You had that, you're posting about send nudes.
Yes. What did you think? I really wanted to get a dialogue started. My friend sent me the picture. She was in Georgia, around the Atlanta metro area, and there was a sporty car with the spoilers, the wheels, all the stuff. And he had a frame around his plate that said, "I love my girlfriend," and a big sticker that said, "Send nudes." I just wanted opinions, and I got varying opinions. Women had different opinions versus the men, but I appreciated the men's opinions because they came from the point of the car. Like, look at the car, look at the breakdown of the car. This is a man who likes to show off. This is a man that thinks a spoiler is very important. The wheels don't even fit. It was very interesting. And everybody pretty much came to the same understanding, is that what a waste. What a terrible waste of a sticker, because you've got nothing to gain by putting up on your car "Send nudes." Nothing is to be gained.
See, here's the deal. This is the opposite guy that wears the RBG t-shirt.
Oh, that's what you had. Yes.
That's right. See, what happens is people who aren't interested, they just get repulsed by it and they move away. But
Yes.
people who are interested become attracted to that.
Yes.
So you're the repulsed part.
Yes.
There are some women that are like, "Oh yeah, that guy would be for me." So you're not gonna, your Facebook is self-selecting.
Yes.
You have all
I
the
mean,
repulsed people.
my friends were sharing information with me on the side. So she found his Instagram account, and I did look at his Instagram account. It's some young kid, and he might have a girlfriend, because there is a girl that is posing by the cars in very odd ways. And it's possible that she is fine with that. And that's okay if that's how you want to live your life. But for the most part, you're impressing exactly 0 people,
No,
exactly 1% of the people, by putting "Send nudes." Maybe it's just for his own amusement.
yeah, I mean, send nudes, but where? What does it mean?
I mean, it's an attention getter, right?
Right.
So I thought it was hilarious. And I love people's responses. I love seeing the perspective that everybody's coming from.
But did
About,
anybody defend him and think it was a good idea?
not so far.
Yeah, you're not going to get those people
Not so
on your
far.
site.
Not so far. I mean, my friend said that it looked like he had a sponsor for his car, that he does some kind of things with
I
his
mean,
car.
that's always the question that people have, is when people do an outrageous thing like that, does it get any response at all? It's like every now and again, you get a guy on Facebook, like in a dating site, right? And he'll post like something rude, He's like, "Hey, ladies, it's Saturday night. I've got 9 inches. If anyone's interested." And then the next hundred posts are, "Please, what are you doing? Get up. This isn't what." Blah, blah. But the question is, does anybody ever circle back and and talk to this guy? The answer is probably no. But nobody ever knows if does that work? Does that work for the guy that wants nudes? Does this work when the guy makes rude posts? Are there any? Does he attract anybody?
One of the females, a younger girl, made a good comment. She said, "Remember, there are lots of women that stalk and fall in love with men in prison. So there is a certain element of women that will."
You have to take, I mean, are you willing to suffer social judgment for your
Right.
nonsense? But if the nonsense works versus the social judgment,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Some old lady
Right.
doesn't like me with a sticker, "Oh, send nudes," but I'm getting
Yeah.
nudes.
Yeah. No, I thought it was fascinating. And it's also fascinating, if you're gonna put a sticker on your car. Most people put like where their kids went to school, or
Right. So we can track them and kidnap them.
we're gonna track them and find out. In some ways I feel sorry for him, because once I looked at his Instagram, I'm like, this is just some dumb kid, man. It's just some dumb kid, honestly, that lives
Of
in the middle of
course.
Georgia, that probably thinks he's very cool and funny, and Here we are in New York and Florida going
Uh, Florida, very sophisticated here.
very sophisticated. Um, it's spring break there, right? For a lot of people are traveling to your state. And can you tell, has the traffic picked up? How's it feel?
I've seen the complaining on the Facebook, but I've never participated in any spring break activities.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard in the news in Florida, will there be any
I
kind
mean,
of,
I've changed. I put a sticker on my car, send nudes when I go troll
yeah,
the beach. Outside of that, everything's the same.
yeah, we'll drive up and down the road, see what happens with that. I mean, are the police going to patrol the beaches? Is there any kind of criteria?
Oh, I'm so far from that.
Okay. I didn't know.
I'm in Odessa. I was down
Okay.
to Dunedin over the week, but it was fine.
When was the last time you went to the beach?
It's been a while.
Yeah. I found when I
I need
lived
to
in,
go. It's beautiful out now.
I'm sure that it is. Do you have a favorite beach there?
If I had to go to a beach, I'd probably go down to Sand Key, Clearwater Beach. Those are
Okay.
beautiful spots, but they're gonna be packed these days.
That's the problem with the beaches, right? I mean, right now they're not going to be enjoyable because of the spring breakers.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of curious if, I know we're opening more and we're slowly, I guess our kids are back in school here. So there are things, it's a very confusing time of who has to wear masks. Some places are saying you don't have to wear a mask. So it's all very kind of up and down everywhere.
I'm finding that the shot is getting, they don't seem to be able to sell the benefit of the shot as hard as they should be.
Well, I can't tell you why that is. I mean, I know a friend of mine there in Florida got the J&J shot and she's in the hospital now. She's having heart palpitations, so they're watching her. And she said, "Hey, nothing against the shot. My husband, my daughter got it. They're just fine. I don't know why I'm having this reaction, but I am. I'm in the hospital now." So,
I got
I
the
mean,
J&J shot the other day,
how you feel?
$1,000,000. I didn't even have a sore spot on my arm. I'm like, did they even give me the shot?
See, so I guess I'm still researching. I thought when you got the shots, you should get a reaction because that's your body showing you that it's fighting it, right? Like, I don't know. I think they're all very different.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
crazy.
And your
But
experience getting the shot was a good one?
yeah, I mean, I parked the car at 6:48. By 7:05, I'm in the, oh, you're done. Wait here for 15 minutes before you go home.
Okay. Did you have any trepidation or any nervousness about getting the vaccine? Okay.
Now, it's crazy. I've had my neuropathy and
Yeah.
Lyme disease and Guillain-Barré, so I can't get a flu shot because they found that sometimes the flu shot will trigger Guillain-Barré, which is a paralyzing disease, right?
Yes.
Can be temporary, can be permanent, depending upon what happens. So
Right.
anyway, I've been told, no, don't take the flu shot because of the way that it's created. That they've made an association. Unlike certain things, like they don't say, people say, oh, you're autistic if you take the measles shot. They've never
Sure.
found anything. It's all conversation, but they have found a relation between those and those.
Right.
So Coral is the science. My daughter Coral is the science chief of the family.
Yeah.
And so there was a discussion: is can I take the shot,
Yeah.
the vaccine shot? And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
she researched it. She said, hey, it looks like they've cleared people with Guillain-Barré, or
Okay.
that they should be able to take the shot, right?
Okay.
So I made the announcement that I was going to go take the shot. I get the Johnson and Johnson shot, and then she says, oh, by the way, the Johnson and Johnson shot's a little bit different. They have had a Guillain-Barré.
What? Oh, what? Okay.
So of course, immediately my feet started feeling different, and
Yes.
now I'm feeling a little headachy. It's like,
Yes. Well, I don't know why people are fighting it. I think there are many reasons people are fighting.
they're not selling it. You get the shot, you still have to wear a mask. Get the shot, you still can't travel. Get the shot. The only thing they've said so far is you get the shot, you can hug your grandkids.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of mistrust because of our previous 4 years and because it's so new. People are leery about the newness of it all. And I think I'm wondering if they're not pushing it harder because of this whole fake news that we've run into. So if they don't push it as hard, maybe it's, you know what I don't know if it's a reverse psychology kind of a thing. I don't know.
They need to sell the shot was like, once we get to a certain number, then we're going to be able to get rid of the masks or something. There's
Yeah.
got to be, needs to be a benefit for the risk.
Yes, agreed.
And
Yeah.
there's not enough people just are, well, I want to be a social soldier and I want to be part of the 80%. And so let's get the 80% and I'm going to go take a shot. Many people are saying, you know what, well, let my neighbor go take the shot. I'll be part of the 20%. Then it
Yeah.
gets the benefit of everyone else getting the shot without having to take the shot.
Yeah. I mean, it changes all the time. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Did you hear? I know that there are some issues now because there was a terrible storm over the weekend. Did you hear about all the snow and stuff that happened? 25 inches of snow in Wyoming.
Colorado?
In Wyoming, 25
Really?
inches of snow. And it's 25 degrees here now. And we're supposed to get snow tomorrow in New York. So there's some kind of a cold front. So all the people that were planning on getting shots, that pushes it, we're running into things like that as well.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna get a little dip in the weather next week too.
Yeah, so that's nice. Do you have any urban legends that scare you that you've heard of that you're like, oh, that could be real? Like, oh, I better not do that.
I can't say I do.
There's no.
You mean like a clown in the drain, or
Oh, that's one.
I stand in the mirror and I say I believe in Mary Worth with a
That
flashlight under my neck.
is that the name? Bloody Mary. You can't say that.
It was Mary Worth when I was a kid.
Oh, it was? I've never heard of that one. Okay.
Okay, finish this rhyme. Liar, liar.
Pants on fire. That's all I know.
Come on.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. No, I know no more than that. Is there more?
Nose is longer than a telephone wire.
Never heard that in my life.
You're full of shit. Get off my station.
I swear. I've never heard that in my life.
Tina my ex grew up in California, and theirs was liar, liar, pants on fire, something, 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 had a different ending than the one I knew when I was a kid.
Well, Tom, I grew up in Hawaii. So probably we said liar, liar, pants on fire. What you gonna do? Let's go surf. I never heard any more of that. Well, did you hear of the urban legend? And I'm guessing you must have, where gangs were going after people if they flash their brights at them. Like if you're out driving, if someone flashes your brights at you, don't flash it back. Because I remember living in Florida hearing that going, that's terrifying. Because the protocol in driving used to be, oh, if someone has on their brights, you flash them so they know, and then they dim their lights, right? Did you hear the urban legend where gangs were using this? Gangs were using this as an initiation, apparently, that if they flashed a light at you and you flashed back, that they would follow you and kill you. And that is an urban legend that I was terrified. I stopped flashing my car lights at people because I thought, well, if it is true, I mean, I don't want to be a part of that.
Okay, you're driving down the road. It's 3:00 in the afternoon, right? And you're on a highway and you're traveling eastbound, and another car traveling westbound, passes you. But as they approach you, they flash their lights during the day.
Oh, I think you're telling me something's wrong with my car or something.
Oh, see,
that's what I think.
In my world, that's an indication there's a cop and a speed trap up ahead.
Oh, that people are being helpful.
And they're going to circle back and beat you up too, of course.
Terrified when I heard that because I thought, well, I'm always letting, if someone has on their brights, I'm like, hey, dude, and that's always worked. But if you're going to kill me, I'm not doing it anymore.
Talk about, no good deed goes unpunished.
I mean, there are urban legends out there that have, it had a tiny, tiny bit of validity to it because I thought I could see where that could be a gang initiation thing, because how do you stop it? How do you know what I mean? Like, that's super scary. I don't want to risk it. Keep your brights on, sir. You can do whatever you want. Just don't kill me. I can't believe you never heard of that one.
Nope.
All right. Well, how about this one then? Can you tell me something that most people learn too late?
besides the brights thing.
That's real, son.
Something that people learn too late.
Yeah, like, have you ever had that conversation of like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense now that I'm older. I think that's something that you never really realize until.
Well, that's the old, how old were you till you realized, how old were you when you realized that the handle of a screwdriver is shaped like that, has grooves in it, because you could put a box wrench on it and help you turn the screwdriver. If you needed.
Oh, I was today's years old
There you go.
when I learned that. I thought you were going to tell me the righty tighty lefty loosely. I knew that.
No, but so you grab a screwdriver and it's got kind of grooves in it. Very often, the handle isn't smooth,
Right.
and so people think, well, that's grooved so my hand can grasp it. Right? No. You could take a box wrench and you could help turn that screwdriver if you need it.
Huh. Nope. I'm going to go look at all the screwdrivers now. I had no idea. I've never heard that.
It's something like that. You learned that too late.
Well, sure, Tom.
Women don't like you to tell them shut up. Is that something you learned late?
Well,
calm down is another one too.
Calm down is, you know what? That's an oldie but a goodie. Calm down. It always works every single time when you tell someone to calm down. When I read this, because I was looking at conversation starters and quotes and things that people like to debate about. And when I read the question about what is something that most people learn too late, of course, I thought, okay, what's something that I learned too late? And for me, the number one thing that came to mind was to just quit worrying about so much stuff. I was so worried. Oh, sure, bring the screw in. I was so worried growing up about, so what if I do this? I better do that. I was so worried about so much stuff that's
right.
Now that I'm 60, I look back and think, man, I would have liked to have taken all that anxiety away, because there's so much stuff that doesn't matter that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for. And life is tough enough without you adding that,
Oh, I agree. I've never been a worrier like that. Oh,
yeah.
But I always, my thing is like, I'm forgetting something. I'm supposed to do something. It's like, no. And then I realized if it's not on the list, get it out of your head.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I definitely think as we age, the priorities change over what we used to do. And if there's anything I could teach, younger people, especially, is that don't worry so much. Things are going to happen the way they're going to happen, and you worrying about it doesn't change it. Don't lose sleep over stuff. But it's hard when you're younger, right? Because you think, I think it goes back to the level of control. When you're younger, you think you can control a lot of things. And as you age, you recognize you really don't control much.
You get decisions you could make, but I can't control gas prices.
Right. You can't control other people's feelings or how other people feel about you. And
you have the 5 agreements. You want to pull that up now?
What do you want me to pull up? The 4 agreements?
Yeah, I said 5.
Oh,
anyway.
Did you add an agreement to the 4 agreements? What's the 5th agreement? Always wear gold on your 100th episode of your show.
Let me see if there's another topic I wanted to hit before we say goodbye.
You had a lot of topics.
Okay. Who's more aggravating to listen to about advice? Hot chicks or rich guys? Rich guys telling you how to get rich, or hot women telling you how to do anything? I think they both live in an alternative universe.
I do too. Which is more irritating? That's a really tough one.
Well, it's like I was having a conversation with an attractive woman. Oh yeah, I just get in my car and I go somewhere, and when I get there, someone buys me a drink, and then I get something to eat. And if I want to live somewhere, if I live on the beach, I can do that too. Like, that's your advice on how to get along and how to travel on less than $3 a day. That happens to nobody. Nobody lives like that. Or a rich guy telling you, well, you take $1 million, you buy 3 apartment buildings, and blah blah blah. Bob's your uncle. Like.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to the reason I would find them both irritating, both of them equally irritating.
Yeah.
Is because I feel like they're coming from a very narrow perspective of what's possible.
Yeah, and the person I feel the worst for is the intelligent, attractive woman, she realizes that, yeah, the attractiveness has worked for me, but if I can work hard, I can also maximize that benefit as well, with education. And so her advice is not worthless. His advice is worthy, but she's also recognizes that she lives in an alternative universe where, people are attracted to that person and would like to help that person.
I will tell you this, and I'll try to say it in the best way possible. As a female, if you're considered even semi-attractive, it is somewhat difficult to convince people that you're smart, because your attractiveness lends people to the assumption that you haven't had to use your intelligence. So it's very difficult. And there are times I give up when I can tell someone has that mentality of like, oh, you've got nothing to offer. I'm not here to prove myself to you, but I do find it insulting that you haven't met me at all, but based on my physical appearance, you think I'm stupid.
Right.
And I'm not. I'm fun. No, but you're absolutely right. People that are attractive, men and women, get a lot of things for free and easily that people that maybe struggle with their appearance, because the way the world is set up with our visual stuff has got high value.
It's an interesting thing because it does work against an attractive person who really is smart, and they're trying to, every day, hey, start off your day with a positive attitude and let the universe, take care of everything else. I go, yeah, because you're a smoking hot,
Right.
or you're a genetic freak of a man. Yeah.
Yes.
Life is going great for you. Right.
It is hard.
So it's hard for them to give what I would perceive as legitimate advice. Right.
Yeah. I told you about the one time I was in a play Up the Down Staircase, and I played a complete bimbo. She was an idiot. And it was a show where your character never left the stage. We had a 3-dimensional stage, and we played in the play. We were the character, and then we were the person playing the character. So we stayed on stage the whole time. My bimbo girl wore underwear. So I didn't wear clothes throughout the play. I wore underwear. So automatically people thought I was the bimbo, because she was very dumb. She'd walk around, what? Crawling around. So when the shows were over, we would all come out and people would come up to speak to us. So I would grab a robe, I'm not going to stand there in my underwear, grab a robe. People would go tell all the other characters, oh, so funny, so good. They would get to me and go, oh, and then just walk on past, because I played an idiot.
Yes.
It's very frustrating to play an idiot. Actually takes a lot of work. It's not easy to be on your cues and come across as a total moron.
Well, Johnny Carson occasionally had a woman, as a sidekick, would be confused, dumb blonde, but not dumb at all, but would have to play that role.
Yeah. So it's interesting for men and women both. But if we're trying to help people and we come from our own perspective, we're not helping people. We have to come from a perspective that's broad enough that everybody can relate to it. Because if I tell people, oh, well, in my life, I did this, well, that's just my opportunities. That has nothing to do with, everybody else. So I think that's interesting. Do you find one more irritating than the other?
No, they're equally.
Well, before we go, I want to promote that we do have a guest on Wednesday.
Yes.
And we're very excited about her, Michelle Torrey. She's an intuitive. I'm very excited to have everybody learn about her and to hear what she has to say, because I've known her for many, many years, and she is extraordinary.
I'm looking forward to that too. I took a little peek at her bio, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm Melinda McKinsey. Thanks for listening to our 100th episode.
I'm Tom Wise. Thanks for unpacking some shit with the both of us. And then we'll be back on Wednesday with the special guest.
Sounds good.
Helen Keeney coming up on Friday.
Yay.
And that's another one in the can.